As Havelock North's water crisis enters its second week, the community appears no closer to knowing what caused the Campylobacter outbreak, which has made thousands of people ill. The Hawke's Bay District Health Board has revised up its estimate of the number of people made sick to 4,100. But ratepayers say they're furious with the council and they no longer feel safe drinking the town's water.
My husband was quite sick with it, and I've got a 2-year-old and a 7-month-old who both came down with it, but quite mildly. I don't feel safe drinking it from anything but bottled water now after what's happened with the tankers and things.
My son and his partner and twins stayed at my house in Havelock, and they'd sleep over and they all got sick. He's just gone back to work, but he's had about 7 days of it.
As a teacher in Havelock North, I've now had 5 days without effective classroom learning, so it's sad for the parents and the children with respect to their student achievement.
I think the council have got a lot to answer for.
They should have done something about it a long time ago.
I think they're probably doing the best that they can do, but I don't really know enough about it. So,
do you like the chlorine in the water?
No, I actually drank the water from the aquifer in Hastings. Yeah,
I don't like that at all, but I mean it has to happen, but I'm not drinking chlorinated water. I just still buying bottled water or getting bottled water.
I'm really not happy about it. I know that seems to be the only fix, but when you bathe your children and get them out and they stink like public swimming pools, that's pretty awful, and the taste of it's disgusting. But if that's the only answer, then that's the answer, isn't it?
I just hope that for the public of Havelock North, for the young and the elderly particularly, that we can get a resolution as quickly as possible. And I think people are handling the situation incredibly well and they're being tolerant. But it would just be nice to get a resolution.
The Hawke's Bay District Health Board says as of midnight last night, nobody presented to the emergency department with Campylobacter, which indicates the number of sick people is now waning. But as our reporter Peter Fowler discovered, those going door to door to check on the sick and the elderly say they are still finding people in desperate situations.
This is the end of the second week of the Havelock North water disaster. It began silently as water infected with potentially deadly E. coli started flowing through the taps of the town of 13,000 people. 2 to 5 days later, people started getting sick. By today, the District Health Board says half of households have been infected. The number rose to 4,100, or about a third of the town. And authorities still can't tell the community how it happened. District Health Board Chief Executive Kevin Snee says the hospital is getting back to normal with 15 patients suffering the Campylobacter in general wards and 2 in intensive care.
As we anticipated, the numbers of new cases decline and the pressure on the health system decline. Hospital pretty much back to business as usual.
While it may be business as usual at the hospital, one Red Cross worker told me they're still finding elderly people in particular holed up in their homes, dehydrated and in desperate need of drinking water. Another told of finding families of 6 where 5 people are still very ill and bedridden. The workers we spoke to say there is a need for more people on the ground to check more houses. They say the people they are seeing are grateful for the visit and supplies such as bottled water and nappies. Health Minister Jonathan Coleman visited Havelock North today and says the incidence of new cases is tapering off.
The medical staff have dealt pretty well with what's obviously been a challenging situation, but the focus now moves to the terms of the inquiry, and Cabinet will be considering those on Monday. In terms of where we go from here, that is the main focus.
Minister, have you spoken to the Red Cross workers that are going around the homes here?
Haven't had a chance to. We've been on the ground for a couple of hours here, but I understand they've been doing a great job.
Well, I've spoken to them and they're saying that they're encountering people in desperate situations, particularly the elderly people who don't have any water and who are holed up in their homes. So you're focusing on the investigation, but it appears there's still people out there that are struggling.
Well, we've got to make sure that people are getting water and the medical care that they need. The information I've had from the medical professionals working here in Havelock North is that people are getting that assistance. But look, if there are issues that haven't been addressed, Red Cross just need to raise those with the DHB, and we'll make sure that they're actively, dealt with.
Hastings Mayor Lawrence Yule says tests on a tanker from Hastings, thought to be contaminated, has come back clear.
So there was never any contamination in the tanker, and as with these tests, it was simply a false positive. So we took a precautionary move and chlorinated the whole of the Hastings supply and asked people to boil water. We're delighted to say, though, there was never anything in the water or in that tanker. There's still contamination in the bore, I think, but the network remains clear.
Lawrence Yule says Havelock North residents need to keep boiling their water until at least next Friday. Meanwhile, Coroner Peter Ryan has opened an investigation into the death of an 89-year-old Hawke's Bay woman to ascertain, as far as possible, whether a Campylobacter infection contributed to her death. In Hawke's Bay, for Checkpoint, this is Peter Fowler.